To this now, the Center for Constitutional Rights has released its 5th annual Human Rights Report Card. It assesses South Africa's gains and losses when it comes to human rights. Well, for more on this, we're joined live from our Cape Town studio by Executive Director at the Center for Constitutional Rights. That's Dave Steward. Mr. Steward, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. How has South Africa fared? Have we improved or regressed on human rights?
I'd say that we would have a sort of a C- grading. We're going downhill, not very fast. We must remember that we are a constitutional democracy, a functioning constitutional democracy with an excellent constitution, independent courts, free press, but there are a number of worrying signs.
Talk us through some of those signs that were a cause of concern for you.
Well, I think in the first place, we have the theoretical enjoyment of human rights, but in practice, if you are living in poverty, if you're unemployed, if you are subject to violence, you are in fact deprived of many of those fundamental rights. And that unfortunately is the condition of too many of our people. So I think that's one of the big problems. Another of the problems is ongoing threats to the democratic institutions that underlie our Constitution. We're worried about the politicization of the Judicial Service Commission. We're very worried about what is happening at the National Prosecuting Authority and the fact that it is being politicized. We're worried about legislation like the Protection of State Information Act. We're worried about the Judicial Service Act. These are all threats to our constitutional democracy, and we think that all South Africans should be aware of them.
Well, you haven't given South Africa a very good grade. Tell us what kind of research goes into that, and how do you arrive at your conclusion?
Well, we monitor basic constitutional rights on a daily basis, and where we do well, we give an A or an A+. Where we're struggling a bit, we give a C. If things are really bad, then we give an E. So, for example, with regard to equality, we can't give South Africa a better grade than E because we are one of the most unequal societies in the world. And that has a direct impact on the enjoyment of human rights.
And Mr. Steward, what do you do with your findings? Are you just pointing fingers at where we're going wrong and where we're going right, or do you provide solutions as well?
Well, we think it's very important in the first place to keep a track of the progress we're making on human rights, because these human rights affect every South African. So in the first instance, this is a monitoring exercise, and it's an exercise to inform South Africans of where we're going. As a small NGO, we also do everything we can to ensure that people can claim their human rights, and we also do everything we can to protect the Constitution on which the human rights depend.
Now, you've mentioned that we got an E for equality. Are there any areas in which we got an A, perhaps?
Yeah, I think there are a number of areas, for example, freedom of religion, freedom of association, some of the basic elements, but in other elements we are struggling. For example, we're struggling with regard to the right to education. And it's very important to keep track of this. We're struggling when it comes to the right to life. The simple reality is that despite the great progress we're making with the rollout of antiretroviral drugs, this year 190,000 people will die of AIDS. We can't ignore that. This year, 15,000 people will be murdered in South Africa. So the right to life is one of the central rights that we need to monitor. We're also worried about the security of the person, the high incidence of violence, and the high incidence of rape in South Africa.
Are there any other future trends that you've monitored when it comes to constitutional rights during this coming year?
Yeah, I think that the secret of successful citizenship is to be eternally watchful and vigilant. And what we're trying to do is keep tabs on all of these developments. We're worried also about new elements of racialism in our society. We think it's completely unacceptable that coloured workers of the Department of Correctional Services in the Western Cape should be informed that they can't be promoted because they have exceeded their 8.8% national quota. That's crazy. So all South Africans, I think, especially at this time after Human Rights Day, should rally around our Constitution and they should rally around our Bill of Rights.
Thank you so much. We'll have to leave it there. That was Executive Director of the Centre for Constitutional Rights, Dave Steward.